guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be doing the book haul from my Bookcon experience, and before I jump into that though, I am not surprised at all that I forgot to mention two books from my book expo, so I'm just going to quickly talk about them right now before I jump into Bookcon. So to be fair though, I forgot that I had put books into this compartment in my suitcase, so I didn't notice that I forgot these two books until hours after I finished filming. So I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna do them really quickly before the Bookcon books. So the first book that I forgot is The Strangers by Margaret Peterson Haddix. This is actually the book that comes out the furthest away. This one doesn't come out until April 2019, so it's basically what, like 10 months later. That's almost a year later when this book will finally come out. But the main reason why I picked up this book is because I'm a huge fan of her, the author. I think she's really good. I've liked her previous books, so I figured this book sounds appealing, even though it's technically geared towards the middle grade. But it's basically about this it's a suspenseful novel, and it's about these three kids called the Greystone Kids. And all of a sudden one day there's a report that these three kidnapped children with their same exact first and middle name, their ages and their birthdays are exactly the same, and they're wondering who are these people and why do they have the same names, the same birthdays, the same age as this, and they're not really sure what's going on. And then all of a sudden their mom goes on this mysterious work trip. So I don't know, the whole thing just sounds very, very appealing to me, and I am quite intrigued with this book. So the next book that I got, and this will be the last book from my Book Expo book haul, is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. I don't think I've ever read any of her books before, and I don't know what this book was about, but I only picked this up mainly because my friend who works at Bloomsbury was highly recommending this book. She said it was amazing and I had to pick it up, so I figured why not. But from the back it seems to be about a fantasy novel. It says fall in love, break the curse, save the kingdom. And in the front it says when a kingdom is cursed, love must bloom in the darkest of places. So I'm really excited for this book. This sounds like a book that's right up my alley, and this comes out on January 29, 2019. So that is officially the end of my Book Expo book haul. At this point, I really hope I don't forget anything else at this point, but moving on to my Bookcon book haul. So before I get into everything else, the one thing I have to say is the one publisher that I'm I'm very impressed with overall during Bookcon experience in general was Harlequin Teen. I actually didn't even know that their booth was there until sometime in the afternoon of my day at Book Expo. And then I realized that they were there, and they were doing a really good job with the author signings, their lines, by the way. I think it's because they were located closer to the back, so they were able to actually have a nice line formed without dealing with all the ruckus that Penguin was really having a hard time dealing with. And during Bookcon, especially on Sunday, that day, I think I was just camping at Harlequin Teen, because I was just like, you know what, this is one line where it's easy. It's formed half an hour to an hour prior. They give you these papers, so by the time it actually starts, you just give them the paper and then you have to check out which book you want, numbered 1 to 5 or something, and they'll give you whatever they have based on your preference. And it's so easy. That line is just, that booth just made things so much more simpler, and a lot of people are also raving about it, or not really raving, but they were also complimenting about how they were running things at that booth, because it was just so much more calmer, it was more organized, it was really easy, and within minutes of it, they usually start the line too kind of early, maybe 5 minutes early. So maybe you literally wait in line, or once the line starts going, you're only there for maybe 10 minutes max, and then you have the rest of the time to go and go check out other booths, and then maybe half an hour you come back later, because they had giveaways or droppings every other hour or something like that. So it was just really convenient. Definitely the best booth that I've experienced in Bookcon. Everything else was crazy as always. So anyways, let's start with the books. So the first 3 books that I want to mention are the ones that I got as an extra, a bonus book. I think that's what they called it. And so Penguin, for some reason, which is great by the way, they had, the way how Penguin was set up this year was they had kind of separate, because Penguin has a lot of imprints, so they kind of had one imprint there, and like many imprints all set up in different areas, and they all had different labels for it, like the beach, the park, the library, etc. And there was two specific booths that I really liked there, because one was called the Book Wizard, and that one usually gave out like sci-fi or fantasy books. And then there's another one, I forget the name of it exactly, but that one gave out detective, like thriller mystery novels. And both of them, you can go and just go down the list of the chart, and then you pick a book that you're interested in, and then they'll just give it to you plus a bonus book. And that was the one, those two were the two lines where I actually managed to go there twice, because I mean, I went there one day on Saturday, and I went back again on Sunday, because like they were the same things. And not to mention, I think there's one of them where I went second time on the same day, because the line was still like they were still giving out books like 2 hours later. And usually I feel bad about going back in line even though I already had a book from that booth, but I feel like 2 hours later I'm okay with that. Like you guys had your chance after 2 hours. So that being said, here are the 3 bonus books that I got from those 2 booths. So the first book that I got is, upon further inspection, it is actually like 2 or 3 books in one. So the one that I saw first was the Star Wars side. So I'm assuming it has something to do with Star Wars, obviously, and something to do with Rey, because she's in the front cover. But there's no back in terms of explanation of what the book is about. Instead, there is another side to this. And this is, I'm assuming, like a fantasy side. So this definitely came from the Book Wizard booth, because, I mean, sci-fi, fantasy, right? And then in the front here, it actually tells you how to read, like where to start reading. And you can be like, sci-fi thinks this way, and then fairy tales turned upside down, and then more sci-fi, and then more monsters, mystery, magic books. So I'm assuming this is actually like a collection of books, it seems like. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this book sounds kind of interesting. This is definitely not what I was expecting at all. I thought it was going to be a straight up like Star Wars, one of those like, you know, book version of the movies, but I guess it's not. I guess it's a short story. So that changed my perception completely, and this definitely seems much more interesting. This side seems more interesting, to be honest, because honestly, as much as I like Star Wars, I'm not the biggest fan compared to other people. So anyways, this is the first book that I got, the first bonus book that I got. Then the next bonus book that I got is called The Silent Corner by Dean Koontz. I've actually read one of his books prior, and I didn't really like it, but I know he's really good for like mystery thriller novels. But for some reason, that one book just kind of threw me off. It didn't really draw me in. I ended up not finishing it because it was just not the greatest. So I'm really hoping that this one is different. And it's supposed to be the first book in the best-selling Jane Hawk series, so we shall see. This cover is not the best cover, I have to say, and it says complimentary copy on the side here. So this was a bonus book that I got from the mystery thriller booth from Penguin. So the last bonus book that I got was also from the mystery thriller side, and that is a Jack Reacher novel called The Midnight Line by Lee Child. I actually have never read any of his books before. I watched the movies, so I'm curious to see what his writing style is like, because I've never read his books before, but the movies so far have been pretty good in my opinion, so hopefully it'll be not bad. I just hope that this is not kind of in the middle of the series, because then I'll have to go read the other books before I can pick this one up, so I'll have to check. It seems like it is not the first book. It seems like it's the most recent one. So I'm going to see when I'm going to have time to read this book. Then the next 2 books that I got were from the Harlequin teen side. This was the one line where they were not doing the papers. They were just doing like romance, as a romance line, and you go up to them and they just give you 2 books. They don't really ask you what kind of books you're interested in. They kind of just give you random books. So I didn't know it was like that, because when I talked to the lady, she told me that they'll give me books based on my preference, like in terms of romance. But when I got up to the line, she just handed me 2 books. I don't know if it was because the line was a lot longer than anticipated and they wanted to just finish it as quickly as possible or what, but so I ended up getting 2 books that I'm not really sure if I'll like, because I couldn't choose, and I had no say in terms of what kind of books they were given. All I know is that they were romance novels, so The first book is What We Find by Robin Carr. I have no idea. I've never heard of this author before, to be honest, so I have no idea what this book is about, but I guess from the back it says that it explores the healing powers of rural Colorado and a story of one woman's journey to finding the happiness she's long been missing. So we'll see. This book seems interesting. But I mean, I like the cover though. The cover looks like a very nice beach read. So the second book that I got from the romance booth is Fade to Black by Heather Graham. I believe it's actually book 24 of the Crew of Hunters series. So I really don't know when I'll get to read this book, because I don't know if this is a series where each book, like, you have to read the beginning to understand what's going on, or if it's a series where each book has different characters or different you know, plot line, etc. So I had to do some more research to see if I have to read the whole series, in which case 24 books is a lot, guys. Like, that's a lot for me to catch up on. But based on the back though, it seems to be about a woman called Marnie Devante who was starring in a cult TV show, and based on that fame and I guess money from that fame, she was able to support her future dream of starting a children's theater. But then suddenly a co-star is murdered in front of her, and of course this is where her love interest comes into play. He is a PI and his name is Brian McFadden, and he is reluctant to get involved with this weird case, but obviously, you know, it becomes obvious that Marnie is in grave danger and he is compelled to help. Compelled, you know what I mean? So this book sounds interesting. I just have to see if the rest of the series is, you know, like, I have to read them to read this one, you know what I mean? But it seems from the back though that doesn't seem that's the case. It seems like it's completely different people, but we'll see. So this is the 5th book that I got during Bookcon. So the next book that I got is from the sci-fi / fantasy booth, and that is called The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I've actually heard a lot of good things about this book, which is why I was really excited. Like, as soon as I saw this book on that chart, I was like, that's the book. That's the one that I want. Because I didn't know what books they were giving out before. So I'm really excited to read this book. I've heard amazing good things about it, and I know the second book is out and the third book is apparently coming soon. So I don't know if it's a trilogy or something. I actually don't really know too much about the series. I just heard really good things about it. Though I have to say, I was really hoping that the cover of this would be the actual cover of the book, because that cover looks really pretty. This cover looks more like a promotional copy. But that's okay, whatever. I'm cool with that. But I'm really excited to pick this one up. This is like a magic. There's fantasy involved, so really psyched for this one. So the next book that I picked up was from the mystery / thriller booth from Penguin Teen, and that one is called The Marriage Pact by Michelle Richmond. I was really excited for this one, mainly because the cover drew me in, and I kind of had this thing about liking books where it's this couple, like they're a married couple, and something happens and they're either dysfunctional couple, or the husband is like a crazy person, or the wife is a crazy person, and a psychological thriller ensues. So anyways, I really like books like that, so this book sounds like something exactly like that. It's about a newlywed called Alice and Jake, who are a picture perfect couple, and after receiving this wedding gift, they decided to join the pact, which is this exclusive and mysterious group designed to keep marriages happy and intact. Clearly I don't think that is the case in this situation. There are these rules, and you cannot mention the pact to anyone, and of course one of them breaks the rule. So it's a psychological suspense, and I am very excited for this book. So the next book that I picked up was also from the mystery / thriller booth at Penguin, and the book is called The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie by Alan Bradley. So I just found out that this is actually book 1 of a series. There's actually many books in this series. I don't know how many books to be exact, but I know that this came out a while ago, and I guess there's been many books in this series since then. But basically it follows the story of a young boy called Flavia de Luz, who is an aspiring chemist with passion for poison. And this somehow a series of inexplicable events occurs. A dead bird is found with a postage, you know, at his beak, and he also finds a man lying in the cucumber patch who is drawing his last breath. So now he is very appalled and the light did at the same time about these series of murders that are happening near his home. So according to this quote here, it says, "If ever there was a sleuth who's bold, brilliant, and yes, adorable, it's Flavia de Luce, the precocious 11-year-old at the center of this scrumptious first novel." So I'm pretty excited for this one. Then the next book that I got was also from the mystery slash thriller booth from Penguin, and that book was The Alienist by Caleb Carr. I was mostly interested in this one because I've heard of the TV series. I watched the trailer. I never actually watched it. I haven't watched it yet, but I didn't know that that TV show was based on a book. So now that I saw this, I was very curious and kind of want to read this book first before watching the show. That way I can probably do a compare contrast video in the future. But I'm really excited for this one. It's basically set in 1896. It's set in New York City, and a serial killer is on the loose. So I am very intrigued by this. It also says that it is a best-selling mystery that became a worldwide phenomenon, and a touchstone of historical suspense, is now a modern classic. So pretty psyched for this one. So the next book that I got is actually the last book, I believe, that I got from the mystery booth and the sci-fi booth combined. And this one was actually recommended to me from the person who was at the booth. I believe there was 2 books that I was debating about, and she decided that this one would probably be best for me. And this one is Kill the Farm Boy by Delilah S. Dawson and Kevin Hearn. Hearn possibly. But I'm really excited for this one. Apparently it's set in a completely different universe, basically. It says in the back, "Once upon a time in a faraway kingdom, a hero, the chosen one, was born, and so begins every fairy tale ever told. However, this is not that fairy tale, and there is a chosen one, but he is unlike anyone who has ever been chosen. And there is a faraway kingdom, but you have never been to a magical world quite like the land of Pell." So I am pretty psyched for this one. This one comes out in July 2018. Then the next book that I got was from the Simon Teen booth. I believe this is the only book that I got from that booth, mainly because they were doing this carnival at Bookcon, and honestly, in the beginning, I thought it was pretty well run. They had a separate section where they were like lining up, like people were lining up, etc. So I was there. I lined up for maybe 45 minutes or so, and there were supposed to be 3 games. At least that's what they told me, that you play 3 games and you play all 3 of them when you get to the front. But the thing is, when I got to the front, I think there was like 2 or 3 more people in front of me. They suddenly shut down one of the game, and that was the biggest one. They had this huge glass box or something, and there would be like wind blowing, and you had to catch a paper to win something, like a swag or something. I have no idea. So that was the one that like was most, like, drew me in the most, because it looked like it'd be kind of a lot of fun. And that was the one they shut down. So by that point though, like I already got there. Like I have 3 people in front of me. I'm not going to just leave. So I continued and like played like 1 game. I don't think the 3rd game was even available. They didn't even have that as an option. So I don't know why that lady told me there'd be 3 games. So I was a bit disappointed overall by the experience, because I was hoping and expecting to play the 3 carnival games, and then I waited like such a long time too, and I didn't even get to play all 3 of them. I only played 1. So I ended up playing the lollipop game, where it's at the bottom, there's like the tip has a color, they're color coded, and based on whatever color it is, you get something. And so I actually ended up getting a book. I have no idea what this book is about. I was not expecting this one at all, but this book is called Rabbit and Robot by Andrew Smith. The cover looks quite quirky, to be honest. It looks kind of cute. Actually, I do like the color scheme going on here. But apparently, like, just from a brief glance at the back, it has something to do with a giant lunar cruise ship, robots on board that are becoming cannibalistic. So I don't know, this book, like, it'll be kind of interesting. Not really so sure what to think about this book, to be honest. This book comes out on September 2018. And the next book that I got was one that I actually want to get during Book Expo, but because I couldn't find their booth until the end of the day, the booth is Harlequin Teen, I couldn't pick it up. So I was really glad that they were giving it out during Bookcon. I managed to snag a copy, and that book is When Elephants Fly by Nancy Richardson Fisher. This book comes out on September 4th, 2018. So this book is about a girl called Lily Decker, who is essentially trying to do everything she can to avoid developing schizophrenia, mainly because her mother had schizophrenia and actually tried to kill her before. So she's basically doing everything she can to avoid this outcome. But then one day she witnesses this mother elephant trying to kill her baby calf. And now she has to kind of take a chance between either risking everything, including her sanity, or obviously not risking everything. So I'm very intrigued with this book. This book sounds really unique. I'm actually not a big fan of the cover, to be honest, but the storyline sounds really good. The next book that I got was also from the Harlequin teen booth, and they were giving out some YA books during this time, and actually this was not my first choice. This was actually, they ran out, so this is my second choice. The book is called The Black Witch by Laurie Forrest. I actually really like the cover, by the way. From far away it looks like just a regular leaf, but then, I mean a feather, but then on closer inspection there are actually like trees in it. I don't know if you guys can tell, but this book sounds really interesting actually. It's a fantasy book with witches, magic, paranormal, so I am very psyched for this one, even though it's not my number one choice, but my number two choice is still really good, you know. So the next book that I picked up was one that I was not expecting to pick up at all, but they were just handing this out and it looked kind of funky, so I figured why not pick it up and check it out, because I think I know someone who might like this book, so I figured I could always just give it to that person if needed. The book is called Max Einstein, The Genius Experiment by James Patterson and Chris Grabenstein. The cover looks quite interesting as well. I thought it would be more like a comic book, but it's not. But there are illustrations throughout some of the book as well, which is kind of cool. But it's basically about a girl called Max Einstein, who is your typical 12-year-old kid. She usually does all the normal things, and then one day she's recruited by this mysterious organization where their mission is to solve some of the world's most toughest problems using science. So this looks like it'll be a book that is also like a learning book as well, because science is clearly not my forte, so maybe, who knows, maybe I'll actually learn something from this book, even though it's geared towards middle grade and the protagonist is only 12 years old. Yeah, less than half my age. But I'm really excited for this book. This looks pretty cute, and it comes out on October 8th, 2018. So the next book that I picked up was one that I also was not expecting to pick up, and honestly there was just like maybe 2 copies left on this table, and the guy manning it was kind of just like, please just pick it up, we need readers. And I was just like, you know what, let me give this book a chance and at least see what kind of book this is before I actually pick it up. That way I don't want to take a book away from someone who will be much more interested in it. But this book seems kind of compelling. It's a historical fiction with some romance and dark secrets, so I figured it looks like it'll be quite interesting and up my alley. And this book is called The Latecomers by Helen Klein Ross. The cover also looks gorgeous. I really like the muted colors of the flowers. It looks really pretty. So pretty excited for this one. I'm not really sure what to expect. I've never read any of her books before, so we shall see. But according to the back though, it does seem pretty interesting. So this next book is one that I actually really wanted to get, that I was hoping to get during Book Expo, but I don't think they were giving it out. So that's actually the reason why I went to Bookcon, because they were actually giving out some books that were not given out during Book Expo. So because of that, I was like, I guess I'll just go and at least try to pick up some of the books that I couldn't get during Book Expo, or they weren't dropping them during Book Expo. And this book is Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. I believe they were giving out this book a few times, to be honest. I wanted to get it like early morning when they first opened, when Bookcon first opened, but they ran out like that. Like I got in like at 10:01 and I went to this booth and they're like, no, it's already gone. And I was just like, how? Like I couldn't even find where they were giving it out because it was already gone. So I had to go back later that day. I'm really excited for this book. This book comes out in November 2018. So just as a quick summary, what this book is about: a noble woman's daughter with magic in her blood, love magic, so that's totally up my alley, fantasy, that's up my alley as well, and an empire built on the dreams of enslaved gods. So yes, this book sounds amazing. Love the cover as well, so I have really high hopes for this one. So the next book that I got was one that I originally wanted to get during Book Expo. Unfortunately, they literally ran out of everything. If you watched my video above, you will know what I'm talking about, but basically I couldn't get the one that I really wanted, and I finally got the fantasy book that I was really eyeing for, and that one is called Boneless Mercies by April Genevieve Tuhocki. I hope I pronounced that name right. But this book looks so good. I love the cover. It looks amazing. The main reason why I'm most excited for this book is because it's literally a female version retelling of Beowulf. It's a group of female mercenaries whose job really is to just go out and hunt down the old and the sick. And however, like, they're kind of weary of death. They want something bigger. And then one day they find out that there's a beast somewhere lurking around, and they hope that maybe by killing this beast that their dreams and prospect will be different than what they currently have. So I am super psyched for this book. This book sounds amazing. I don't really know too many Beowulf retellings out there, much less a female version, so super pumped for this one. And this book comes out on October 2018. So the next book that I got was from the Harlequin Teen booth. I believe they were doing a mystery/thriller segment, which is why I ended up picking this book. I couldn't really decide which book to get, to be honest, and the lady was helping me pick, and she kind of recommended this one and this one other book, but I ended up picking this one because this book sounded a lot more interesting than the other one to me. This book is called The Boy at the Keyhole by Stephen Giles. So this book is basically about a boy who is left alone at his family's estate, and he suspects that the housekeeper killed his mother. So I don't know, this book sounds really interesting. It's a debut book as well, which I was a little bit iffy about because, as you might know, I'm not a big fan of debut novels, but I'm trying to give more of a chance these days. And this book, she said like it had really good reviews about it already, and she really liked it, so I figured why not. This book comes out on September 4th, 2018. Then the next book that I got was from the Penguin Teen booth. I believe this is the only book I got from that booth because everything else that they were doing there was way too chaotic and I didn't want to venture there at all. But this one I happened to grab it because I happened to be at the line about the same time that they were starting it, so I managed to get like a relatively early spot in the line, so I figured why not. And this was the vacation one or something, the travel one, where you can pick 3 different destinations, and based on your destination they'll give you a book. So I kind of knew from off the bat that the beach one, which is what I would have picked originally because I like beach vacations, was Seafire, which I already got, so I figured I would not pick that one. And then it was between European and I believe like the Middle East or something like that. So I ended up picking the Middle Eastern one because I figured European books, there's a lot out there already, and I wanted something set in a different location. So I ended up picking Darius the Great Is Not Okay by Adib Khorram. This book comes out on August 2018, and this book is also a debut novel as well, so that's kind of cool. Basically, just according to a quote from the back, it kind of gives a really good summary of what this book is about. It's basically a love letter to anyone who has felt uncomfortable in their own skin and wondered where exactly they belonged. A big-hearted and marvelous debut. So that's essentially what this book is about, basically. So I'm pretty excited for it. Then the next book that I got was one that I kind of just randomly jumped on because the line was really short, and the lady was like, "Oh, do you want to get your book signed by Jennifer Armentrout?" And I was like, wait, hold up a second. I recognize that name, and it turns out that I don't know who she is, obviously, but I read her books before, her young adult books before, so I was like, yes, let me go jump on the line and see what she's writing now, because I haven't followed her in years. But I managed to get a snag of this copy with her signature, by the way, and the book is called Moonlight Seduction by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and it's signed here very nicely, by the way. It says, "Stephanie, enjoy." So I believe this is not the first in a series because it says right off the bat, the De Vincent brothers are back, which assumes that clearly it's not the first book in this series. But I'm really curious to see what this book is about, and I liked her young adult books, so I have high hopes for this one. And this book is just a contemporary romance book, so I'm pretty psyched for this. As you can tell, I'm in a mood for romance. Anything romance related, I'm like, yes please. This book actually comes out at the end of June, but this is actually the finished copy already. So anyways, pretty excited for this one. So the next book that I got was from the Abrams booth. I think they just had a stack lying around, and I actually saw this book during Book Expo, or no, I heard of this book during Book Expo, and I was thinking about picking it up, but I didn't get a chance to stop by their booth that much. I went there like once or twice, that was it. But I managed to snag a copy during Bookcon, and the book is called The Good Demon by Jimmy Caholeas. I hope I pronounced that last name right. But this book is actually a really unique book as well, because it's about a girl called Claire who apparently had a demon inside her, but she was apparently they're like good friends though. So that demon got exorcised. Like, I mean, I guess the pastor exorcised Claire and got rid of the demon, and now she wants her back. So this book sounds like a really interesting reverse exorcism. So I'm really curious to see what this book will entail, and I'm pretty excited to pick this one up. Then the next book that I got was actually also from Penguin, but this was the one where they were doing this like galley gift swag bag or something, where it was like it's packaged so you don't know what kind of books are inside. And honestly, I thought they were going to organize it based on genres, like this is fantasy, this is mystery, this is sci-fi, whatever, etc. But that wasn't really the case. They had it based on like popular like fiction, and then they had non-fiction, and they had literary fiction, and I think they had this one other category, and literally the only one that I was interested in would have been like the popular fiction, because I have no interest in the other ones, period. Like, I'm really bad at the other ones. So I ended up picking up this one. I already snuck at it to see what this book was about, and I'm actually pretty excited that I picked up this book because I've actually seen pretty good reviews about it already. So this book is The Book of Essie by Megan McLean Weir. The reason why I'm most interested about this book is basically it's a book about family and religion. So this book seems like it'll have a lot of serious issues in it, which is why I'm very, very anticipating this book and why I hope that this book will be as good as everyone says it is. So 2 more books, guys. Final 2 books. And these are both books that I got from the Smith Publicity booth. Last year they were giving out quite a number of books, but this year I feel like they weren't giving out that many, and there was only 2 that I was really interested in, so I ended up getting in line for both of them, and they were very generous in terms of how many copies they were giving out because the line was huge, but they always had a copy for everyone. So anyways, the book is called Birds of Wonder by Cynthia Robinson. I really like the cover. It reminds me of summer and like palm trees, so pretty psyched for that. So this book is about a woman who was walking her dog one morning and somehow stumbles upon the body of a dead girl, for a student, and then she calls the police, aka her daughter. So this book just follows a story about how the death of this girl just ripples, how the effect of this girl's death just ripples throughout the community. And I don't know, it sounds very, very compelling, so I have high hopes and I'm highly anticipating this one. The final book that I got, also from Publicity, is Warm Transfer by Laura Holt. The reason why I picked up this book was because I thought the synopsis sounds very, very different than what I usually see. It's basically about like, so they say the warm transfer is the act of a customer service representative remaining on the line with a caller until that caller is successfully transferred to another agent. So metaphorically speaking, a warm transfer happens anytime we help others find safe passage to their destination. So I don't know, this book sounds like it'll be really intriguing. I don't really know what to expect, but somehow that premise just sounded very, very unique and different than what I would have imagined. So with that premise in mind, so basically the whole book follows the story of a woman called Tamsin Peel who is living through life, but she has a very fractured marriage. And then one day this handsome musician, she basically encounters this handsome musician, and now she faces new possibilities and a shard of hope for her future. So now she's decided between whether or not she wants to, you know, embark on this potential new romance, I'm assuming, or stay for the sake of her children. So I don't know, I am quite intrigued by this book, especially the fact that they talked about like the original premise of the whole like customer service and transferring. I didn't know that was a thing, to be honest, but yeah, so I'm pretty interested in this book. So the last thing that I want to show is actually a swag that I got. I didn't really show any swags because I just got like maybe a few tote bags which weren't that interesting. They weren't like super special, and then I got a few pins here and there, but this one I thought was really cool because I got a poster. I forget where I got this poster from, but it says Listening Library Brings Classics to Life, Hans Christian Andersen's Fairy Tales. But this poster looks really cute and really pretty, so I was pretty glad that I got this poster. But this is like the coolest swag that I got, which is why I'm showing it. But anyways, that is everything. Everything completely is done now in terms of my book haul for Book Expo and Bookcon. I'm really hoping that I don't find something by accident that I forgot to mention, because that would totally suck. If that's the case, I'm going to include that in my book haul for like at the end of the month or something like that. That is all I have to say for this video. Honestly, my experience at Bookcon this year was a little bit different because last year at least I had Emily with me so we can like banter and stuff, but this year I ended up just meeting cool people, like throwing lines and just interacting with them, which is really cool as well. So the experience was obviously very different. I think next year, I think I will try to stick with Book Expo. I might still go to Bookcon just to kind of wander around, because I feel like I actually had a chance to actually check out the booths more during Bookcon, because I didn't really care as much about the books as opposed to Book Expo. Obviously I still got a lot because I still like lined up for things, but I think in general I was more interested in seeing like what people were doing, like what the booths were like, which is why I ended up waiting in line for so long for the carnival, because I thought that'd be kind of fun, and then I ended up not even playing all the games like I was supposed to play. So I don't know, we'll see. I have to see what next year is going to be like first. But anyways, that's all I have to say for this video. If you have there's a book on here that you're really excited for as well, please do let me know down below. And if you also if you went to BookCon and did a book haul as well, do let me know below. I'm really curious to see what people got during BookCon, because I think this one was a lot more disorganized in terms of what they were giving away, so a lot of people were getting different things. So anyways, that's all I have to say for this video. If you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's it for today, guys. Thank you. Bye.